Now we understand that the enemy is no longer men running around in dresses in the deserts in Afghanistan with a towel on their heads. They're actually lawyers dressed in Armani suits who have offices down Main Street in any major city, Western city, whether Australia, Canada, America, Europe, they are living amongst us.
Are people waking up to this threat, or are we still in the early stages of the struggle?
Well, people are forced to wake up to the threat. I mean, they are forced. And you know why they are forced to wake up? Because after October 7th, not only the Jewish community woke up, because the Jewish community was in general in denial, specifically the Jewish community, because they don't want to create waves. They don't want to cause any problem. Let's keep our head low. Let's not confront the situation, because if we bury our head in the sand, the problem is going to solve itself. So this too shall pass. Let's just keep silent. We don't want to be around anybody controversial. If anybody says anything, oh my gosh, don't get near them. It's like as if they are nuclear and harmful to your health. For example, the Jewish Federation here wouldn't touch me with a 10-foot pole. And you can take that to any Jewish Federation anywhere in Western nation, okay? They do not want to create wave. But I think after October 7th, the Jewish people who refused to start speaking about the rise of Jew hatred, and I hate to call it anti-Semitism. I don't call it anti-Semitism. I call it Jew hatred, okay? It's Jew hatred because I'm Semitic. I'm from Lebanon. I have brown skin, brown hair, black hair. I'm Semitic. Look at my big lips. I'm Semitic. You can get I'm short, 5 feet tall. Okay. So, but I'm not Jewish. So what we're seeing the rise right now of hatred is against Jews. I want you to call it by its name. It's Jew hatred. So when you talk with your friends or when you give interviews, it is Jew hatred, and that's what we are rising up against. And the Jewish community finally, after October 7th, they woke up and thought, oh my gosh, how can people hate us so much? I mean, right now the reports are coming out through the probe of what they did exactly to the people. This is barbarism. There's no other word for it. Barbarism. This is beyond what animals can do. Okay? That's unacceptable. I don't care who does that. It doesn't matter if Jews did that, I would condemn them with the same passion and the same breath as I'm condemning Hamas members. This level of barbarism is unacceptable in the 21st century. So once the Jewish people woke up, and then we realized that after we started seeing the Jew hatred, that look at the Christmas markets in Europe this year. The Christmas markets, this is happening in Europe. And then New Year's Eve celebrations were canceled in Paris and in London. That's what's waking people up. People are saying, whoa, 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 how did we get here? How did we get here? I mean, now this is crossed from Jew hatred to now attacking the Christians. And that's why I always say, what starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews. This is why the Christian community and anybody who's non-Jewish has a responsibility to speak up with the exact same passion I'm speaking against this evil, because we need to protect the Jewish community and our own community as well. What starts with the Jews never ends with the Jews.
What is it about the Palestinian cause that motivates Islamists to push a radical ideology in the West?
Well, what started with the Arabs could care less about the Palestinians. The whole Arabic countries could care less about the Palestinians. Actually, it's the countries that took them in Kuwait, Jordan, Lebanon. I mean, look what they did in Kuwait. Look what they did in Jordan. In Jordan, they tried to overthrow the king. That's how he bulldozed tens of thousands of them. And that's how we ended up in Lebanon, accepting a third wave of Palestinian refugees into the country. Nobody wanted them because they have seen what the Palestinians do to every country they go to. But the Arabs did not care about the Palestinian issue as long as it kept the Palestinians, and as long as it kept their own people distracted with the Palestinian cause, so they don't pay attention to the one-man dictator or one royal family siphoning money out of the people, getting rich. When you look at the Middle East, all the leaders, whether it was al-Assad in Syria, he died and then his son took over, whether it was Saddam Hussein in Iraq, or when you look at all the royal families, I call the Middle East, when you look at the Middle Eastern countries, tribes with flags. You can identify every country, every tribe, by every flag, by one royal family or one man regime. And so these royal families and the one man regimes enjoyed having their people distracted, so they're not looking at how corrupt the leadership was, how all the leadership was multimillionaires while their people suffered. They had no problem with that. But later on, as the years evolved and the Palestinians lied and lied and lied, basically rewriting history. I mean, we know Israel failed miserably in the PR department, while the Palestinians have rewritten history. So the new generations right now, including Westerners, who are screaming death to the Jews from the river to the sea, they don't even know what river or what sea. So you've got a generation of youth today throughout the world, but specifically in the Arabic world, who are anti-Israel, screaming that statement in Arabic countries without really understanding history. But that's why the Arabic world just did not care about the Palestinians. It was a convenient excuse at the time. They used them as pawns. They continue using them as pawns. And that's why now, with the war with Gaza, Egypt didn't want them. I mean, look at the border wall between Egypt and the West Bank right now, and Gaza. I mean, the border wall, they didn't want anything with them. They did not want them in. Saudi Arabia has tents. Remember that they do the Hajj every year, and millions of people, descend on Saudi Arabia, and they've got all these tents, first-class tents, air-conditioned, beautiful accommodation, sitting empty, literally sitting empty for 11 months of the year. They didn't even allow one Palestinian to come to Saudi Arabia during the war. They didn't want them because they know the Palestinians cause problems. I want to talk about underestimating our enemy. We have never been faced ever before with an enemy that tells us, that's very honest. They don't beat around the bush. They don't mince words. They not only tell us how much they hate us, they brag about it. They're very proud, by the way, of how much they hate us. Not only they tell us how much they hate us, they write about it. They issue press releases about it. They put it up on the internet. They mail it to Al Jazeera to air it worldwide on worldwide television and CNN. We've never been faced with an enemy that is so honest and so direct. But what do? We bury our head in the sand, pretending, no, 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 no. We don't want to hear this. They don't mean it. This is a lie. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. It's just a radical minority. And what we think of terrorists, to speak about the Muslim Brotherhood, our idea of terrorists, we picture Osama bin Laden. We picture men running around with dresses over pants with a towel wrapped on top of their head. That's our idea of how a terrorist looks like. We cannot picture a terrorist in an Armani suit. Well, I've got news for you. The Muslim Brotherhood are the terrorists in Armani suits who are living amongst us. They are the doctors. They are the lawyers. They are the engineers. Remember in London, about 10 years ago, the group of doctors that were arrested plotting to blow up the hospitals and suicide bomb the hospital in which they practiced. I think it was like a group of about 9 doctors. Remember that in England? A group of doctors were ready to go blow up the hospital in which they practiced to kill their patient, which they took an oath to protect, to serve, and to save the lives of their people. We in the West cannot fathom, why would a doctor want to be a suicide bomber? Because our idea in the West of a terrorist, why would anybody want to do that? If you're a doctor, you're making money, you live in a nice house, you drive a Mercedes, you have a swimming pool, why would you want to kill yourself? Because in the West, our society is so materialistic, and we have moved so far away from religion in general. Judeo-Christians, Christians or Jews, you see less and less religion in our society. While in the Muslim world, they're growing more and more devout. In our religion, the Jews and the Christians and the Buddhists and everybody else, the Hindus, the more you get in touch with your religion, with your ideology, the better person you become. Because our book or books teach about treat others the way you want to be treated. Do not judge others lest you be judged. Repair the world. Pray for your enemy. Forgive those who trespass against you. The more devout you become, the better person you become. On the other side, with the radical Islamic ideology, the more devout they become, the more radical they become, because the ideology sanctions killing your enemy. The ideology, radical Islam, they believe in killing the enemy, in cutting off the heads, and throwing gays off of buildings. And women are the property of men. And so we in the West have a very hard time grappling with this. But to get back to the Muslim Brotherhood plan, because now we understand that the enemy is no longer men running around in dresses in the deserts in Afghanistan with a towel on their heads. They're actually lawyers dressed in Armani suits who have offices down Main Street in any major city, Western city, whether Australia, Canada, America, Europe, anywhere in Europe. They are living amongst us. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood, after the Islamic Empire ended in 1924 by Ataturk in Turkey, remember, the Islamic Empire ended almost 100 years ago, just 102 years ago. And the people, the Muslim world hates Ataturk because he gave women right to vote. He forbid men from wearing the hijab. He gave women a right to an education. The Muslims hated him so much, they called him a Jewish agent because they believed his mother was Jewish. So once Ataturk ended the caliphate in 1924 in Turkey, a group of Muslim scholars in Egypt 5 years later said, how can Christianity win over Islam? Islam is supreme to all other religion. Islam should rule the earth, because up until 1924, Islam has covered more of the earth's empire than the Roman Empire did at its peak, more than the earth's surface. And so that's when the Muslim Brotherhood was started. They wrote their own document, how they want to resurrect the caliphate. And by the 1950s, people thought it's over. They're never going to be able to come back. Islam is over. The Islamic Empire is over. The caliphate is over. But two things happened in the Middle East that gave the Islamists the money and the power to regroup and organize. The first thing that happened was the discovery of oil in the Middle East, which gave them the money. And the number two thing that happened in the 1970s, 1979, Ayatollah Khomeini coming to power in Iran. This gave the Islamists throughout the world not only the money, but the spiritual covering to organize and start growing across the globe. So the Muslim Brotherhood wrote the plan, the worldwide plan for radical Islam to infiltrate and dominate the West and establish an Islamic government on earth. In the counterterrorism circles, this plan became known as the Project. And what makes the project so unique, which you read a paragraph out of that project, what makes it so unique is they discuss how they want to infiltrate every segment of our society, how they're going to infiltrate the education, how they're going to infiltrate politics, how they're going to infiltrate the entertainment industry. Like, for example, in Hollywood, you already can see the influence of the Islamists in Hollywood. Movies like Not Without My Daughter, you will never see that produced again in Hollywood because of the Islamic influence. So they are so detailed that when it comes to politics, for example, they instruct Muslims how they need to become members of both political parties in whatever country they are in, the Democrat and the Republicans, and how they need to rise within the party, and so they can sit on the board and have a voice, a voting voice within the party. They talk about how to put Muslim interns in political offices all throughout the West so they can have an insider view of how policy is done at the highest levels. It is so detailed, you will be shocked. He only read you a paragraph about the goal of the Muslim Brother in North America. He read you a part of the North America project. They have a global project, which is 100 years. They have an North America project, which we are a part of North America, Canada, the South America, the United States, and literally in detail. So that plan was written in 1991. So here we are 35 years later. Look at the advancement that they have made. It is so important to understand what our enemy is planning for us. And an example of today, how they are organized, all you have to do is look at Mamdani in the United States. Mamdani is a Muslim Brotherhood candidate. He's a Muslim Brotherhood front. Now, you see Mamdani, who's the mayor of New York, or Khan, who's the mayor of London. When you look at London, when you look at England, almost every major city in England has a Muslim mayor. But in America, for example, since it's closest to your neighbors, Mamdani is the latest example. Mamdani is not what you picture as somebody who's trying to sabotage a country. He's handsome. He's got a flashy smile. He's got a great personality. In his campaign, he went to bars, dancing at bars, at discos, at nightclubs, as a part of his campaign appealing to the youth. And what did he do? The first order of business when he became mayor, removed the protection of the Jewish community immediately, second day, which was shocking because some Jewish people voted for him. So that's what we're looking at today when we look at Muslim Brotherhood. This is how I want you to think about the infiltration of our government and the impact that they're having. Whether in Canada, you all are facing the same problem in Canada. You can see Canada being transformed before your very eyes. I can tell you, I was in Canada in 2007. The Canada that I landed in yesterday is not the Canada that I saw 20 years ago. Canada is almost unrecognizable to me. And so you have a problem as much as we are having a problem.
If you have a 401k or an IRA, please listen. Gold is at record highs. What many people don't know is this. You can move part of your retirement money legally and without tax penalties into physical gold you actually own. Alpha Omega Gold helps you do this through a gold IRA. Your gold is real. It is stored safely. It is in your name. Learn more at ao.gold/stand. Alpha Omega Gold is our sponsor, and they proudly stand with Israel.